And
Okay. My name is Kimberly McCraddock, and I was arrested, and it was a second charge. That was for a second time, and so I spent 2 days in jail, which was not fun, and I was scared. I was emotional. I was really stressed because I didn't know what was going to happen. I have a family, so I was just terrified. Terrified, that's the word. So I called Brian, and I left a message with him. I sent an email also. My court date actually was on Monday, and here it was Sunday. And Brian called me back, and I didn't think wasn't sure if I could be able to afford him, and he worked with me and set up payment arrangements, which nobody ever did or offered me. And when Brian called, I'm sure he could probably feel that I was stressed and a little bit scared, and after I talked to him, I felt relieved, and just a sense of relief and calm that I had not felt, because I felt like he really cared. It wasn't just anything, it wasn't business. It was like he truly cared, and he ended up going to court for me. My court date was Monday, and he called me Sunday before and ended up going to the court for me on Monday. And here we are.
And then tell me about the results.
Okay, so I didn't have to go to this is my first court date. Brian went to all my court dates for me, and this is the first and only one I've had to go through, and it was painless. It was really painless, and I met Brian, and he's just as I thought, just warm and just great, and he got my sentence. I mean, I was really scared, and I know I'd done research on my case, and because it was the second time, I know jail time was pretty much inevitable. But Brian pulled some strings and worked his magic, and I ended up with no jail time. I mean, I'm just so ecstatic about that. And the fines were reduced considerably, and I got community service as opposed to community labor, which would not have worked good for me. So this has been a really good day. We haven't had one of these good days in a while, but this is a good day. Thanks, Brian.